Well, good afternoon. My name is Steve Nickles, and teach at Wake Forest University. But I'm here today in my role as a consultant with West and Westlaw with respect to TWEN. I've worked with TWEN since its inception many years ago. I've been involved in its development ever since. Yesterday we had a program, and I did some basic with respect to TWEN, and this one is billed as advanced. What our plan is today is to talk first about just a couple of new developments with respect to TWEN, beginning with lawschool.com, which is kind of the portal for law students and faculty. Move from that into looking at TWEN and some, what might be called advanced uses that I make of TWEN, which is really some features I use a lot that I didn't think I would. That turn out to be helpful. I spend some time on that, and then spend some time looking at kind of the architecture, new architecture that is behind TWEN. For those of you that have an interest in the technology, particularly the .NET technology, which is going to give us a whole lot more flexibility with further development of TWEN. And then what we hope to do is, in light of the possibilities of further development, is just to think kind of out loud with you about what would be nice with respect to this kind of technology and in particular TWEN. The kind of things that you think as faculty broadly defined, IT professionals, information professionals, would be useful for you and your law school. And I'm going to do just a little of the talking today. We're really fortunate to have with us Erik Swenson, who is a senior software engineer with West. And the very best feature of TWEN is that it is homegrown. It was developed in-house by West. It stays there. And it was really, its development was by law professors for law professors. It's designed for law schools. West has complete control over it. And almost all the features on TWEN have been suggested by law faculty. Again, broadly defined, which is the proper way to define that term. And when I say that, I include IT professionals, library professionals, others who are involved in the law school community. And so many of the features, one of which, CiteStation, we're going to take a close look at today, have been suggested by faculty as something that's needed in law schools. And then West, because of your request, gets the software engineers involved, the people who actually can get in behind this stuff and do what it is you want it to do. And Erik is one of those. I have no idea how this works, behind the scenes. As I said yesterday, as far as I know, there's a little guy back there, who does everything. And the guy who manages the little guy is Erik. He can really do what it is you want. So what we really want to spend time on today, and for sure, cut this off pretty early and get your comments, your suggestions, just kind of think broadly what you would like to see in terms of real needs for your particular use and for your law school. And Erik has got a pad and a pencil and is going to take notes and see what is possible and because of the new architecture behind it, a whole lot of things are possible. We're going to start with Erik giving you kind of a short tour of the new portal. Theoretically, the way most folks get into TWEN is to go to lawschool.com and then select TWEN from this menu and then get into TWEN. But lawschool.com is kind of the general portal that West intends for law faculty, for law students, and for others using the academic resources of Westlaw. There have been some changes to this portal site effective the day before yesterday.
Right.
So it's out there. It's brand new, and it was the release of this coincided, not coincidentally, with CALI. So Erik's going to talk about that, then I'll talk a little bit about some of the advanced pedagogical uses of TWEN.
Sure. Before I get into the feature, I want to give you a little background on me. I've been at West for about 4 years, and I've been working on TWEN the whole time. I started, on some of the bigger TWEN features: forums, quizzing, document pages. The bulk of that 4 years has also been spent on the registration, sign-on, authentication, seamless access portion of our site. So I'm very familiar with how all of that works. Oh, it's on. Is it? Okay.
It's software. So you say
Yes.
software.
Yes. I'm saving my voice, right? More recently, I've had the opportunity to spend less time on specific features and actually look at more of the architecture of the overall site, meet with our business unit and get their input on what they want to see out of the site, and work closely with them to let them know what we're capable of doing. And as it is right now, TWEN is in a really good position with our new architecture. We have a lot of possibilities at our fingertips that are just waiting to be developed, which is part of the reason I'm here today, to talk to all of you. I'm over here. I'll just get right into the portal page and give you a look at it. For those of you who are technically savvy, you can see that this is based on the ASP.NET architecture. TWEN from almost the beginning has been based on Microsoft technologies, particularly ASP, VB. The backend database is all SQL Server, and that is still the case. And this is our first major release of a .NET framework that myself and a number of my coworkers have been putting together for the rest of our group to take advantage of some of the new features. And
Might I just ask, how many of you are IT professionals that would understand what .NET
okay,
means?
so we have a lot of faculty. Good.
Librarians?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the basic idea behind this is like Steve said, a portal concept. In this current state, it's a little less of a portal and a little more of a My Law School, sort of customized content based on who you are. The idea behind this is that now when you come to the site, rather than logging into TWEN and going to your TWEN homepage, clicking on a course, you have some of those smaller parts of TWEN are pulled out to the front page of lawschool.westlaw.com. And for those of you who had utilized the Remember My Password feature, if you set that and you come here to this page, it will automatically take you here. And as you can see, the top 3 TWEN courses on your homepage are displayed along with their forum activity. One of the other features is the top section there where we have school announcements. Right now these are geared towards students, but it is set up behind the scenes so that we can customize announcements based on who you are and based on attributes on your account. So for example, if we want to send a message to all faculty at Wake Forest University, we can set that up, and so any faculty that comes to the site will see a new announcement here. If you're at Duke, you won't see that particular announcement if that's how we choose to do it. Right now, a lot of this, the control of the customizability is internal to West. Our business unit has control over what content is displayed outside of the TWEN section right now. We have plans to open up some of this content for you so that you have some control over what you see on the site. Leading down that road, one thing I want to get from you all is an idea of what other sort of modules you might like to see on this page, because there's a lot of possibilities for us now to sort of break down if there are particular aspects of TWEN that you like to have access to but find it hard to go into TWEN and see. You can pull it out to this front page and have it readily available to you. Oh. Yes, we have. The way we've set it up is all of the old architecture is still in place, and we've put the .NET framework over the top of this. And right now, today, the code is out there, but the site isn't set up to hit that as the default. So if you just go to lawschool.westlaw.com, you see the new header, but the old content You have to specifically target the default .aspx page. That will change. That's just... It is. Oh. Thanks. What's that? When will next week is the plan.
They're keeping the old architecture so the old professors like it. You're comfortable with it. And on the kind of this front page, new front page, you know, the control of that kind of announcements that are pushed, it's very different from what you get into TWEN, get into your courses. You know, that is completely still controlled by faculty. You know, Wes does. Once you're into your courses, it's the faculty member who has control of her courses and what content's there. And there's no push messages, you know, no banners, you know, none of that stuff. That's all your space that still you and you alone are going to customize. Your course page, your announcements, all of that. So draw the distinction between kind of this front page portal, I still call it, and TWEN itself. TWEN belongs to the faculty member, and West doesn't trespass there at all.
And along those lines, down the road, there is the capability to give you full control over this whole page, including the tabs at the top, as well as what modules are displayed on the page and where they're displayed on the page. Sure. As of right now, this is the extent of the school customization. But that one of the points I wanted to make about the .NET world is that we were able to start fresh, and we've kept branding in mind as a possibility, so that potentially, if you so choose to have your own school header, you can even still have your own tabs in there if you want. There is potential to have a whole style sheet applied to the site that would brand. I mean, this is down the road, of course, but now that with the new architecture, we have that option available to us. So
and that's a real possibility. Branding is possible now. You can,
right.
With the new architecture, it's a whole lot easier. And branding is something that the law faculty who are involved in advising West have been pushing for a long time. And we've had it. It's there. You go in, and some schools have it now. So it just looks like a part of their site. This is going to make it, but it did involve some extra cost and some in terms of time and effort and ego. But with the new architecture, it's going to be different. Branding will be much easier. School branding.
As far as some of the other things that we are now will be able to do much more easily. One of those is internationalization. We have a number of schools in Canada, and recently were asked about the possibility of having this site displayed in French. And we actually had that in mind when we built this framework, and so it's not implemented by any means, but the technical barriers for internationalization, which can be steep when you talk about retrofitting a whole site like TWEN, can be very difficult. But we've kept it in mind now, and the idea will be that you can set a language in your browser, and anybody that comes to the site with whatever language, it wouldn't. We're talking about French and Spanish initially, because there is still translation cost for all of this, and that does take time and money. So, but the possibility is there, so that if you set your language, you come here and it's all in Spanish, for example. Just check my notes here.
I teach UCC courses, and my students are hoping we can do a translation into English. All the UCC stuff.
One of the last notes I have on here is that with this framework we've put on this page, it also allows us to have a mobile version of each one of these modules. And with the layout defined for individual users, you would be able to say, I want to have, if I come into this site with a mobile device, I want 2 of the 4 boxes to be displayed on my mobile device. And that, with the new .NET framework, we have kept that in mind, and with this portal framework that we've put together, that's a distinct possibility. So, based on input from all of you, I know we talked about mobile a number of years ago as a possibility, and it's sort of always been something that's been there, but we haven't had a lot of demand for it. But it's definitely much more technically feasible for us to accomplish now. So, as far as sure,
That looks like an RSS feed.
this one.
That's done by
This actually is from the legal news on Westlaw. It goes currently. This goes right out to the site, scrapes the page, grabs them, and puts it in there. Sure. And actually, behind the scenes, there is an RSS object that's spitting that out. So, yep. One of our developers is very into RSS, so he's always seeing what we can do with that. I don't know if many of you are familiar with RSS. I'll just say a quick word about it. Basically, there's a number of meanings for the acronym. One of them is really simple syndication or rich site summary. Basically, it's a way for providers of content to have information, little blurbs of information like this available for people to subscribe to. And they would get a reader or an aggregator, they're called, which is a piece of software that sits on your machine. And you say, so you would come here and you'd say, I want legal news, and it would subscribe to the legal news RSS feed, they're called. And it would just, every time the content provider updated the site, it would automatically update into your reader. We've talked about one of the possibilities with forum postings would be so you can subscribe to a forum on one of your courses with an RSS feed, and so anytime there's a new posting, it just shows up. You don't have to get an email. It keeps your inbox uncluttered. So, let's see. I think got a couple more notes. As far as, I won't worry about that. That's about all I have on this particular site. Just so you know, Nikki Schenk's session at 4 to 5 today will be going into this a little more in detail. So,
And again, the sum for those of you who are like me and really don't understand, how this works in the background. What they're doing is keeping up with the latest technology to make it as powerful and pliable as possible, and to anticipate things like mobile computing. I mean, the cost of years ago, the idea of being able to get push messages, through your phone about the UCC, that didn't excite a lot of people. A lot of things, getting your courses on personal digital assistance and all that. But now with broadband, with the cost of those things coming down, the functionalities, that's something that's anticipated. And we're not sitting there pushing where you can sit on your phone and do all your courses. But what Wes is trying to do is to anticipate future uses and needs that really are going to be determined by y'all. And I can't emphasize that enough. It's not that Erik and others are sitting and Egan thinking about all these neat things they'd like to see. They're simply trying to get ready to be responsive to what your needs are. And that's always been true with TWEN and always will be, because y'all are the ones who really drive what functions are needed. Certainly mobile. A couple of years ago, we thought about it in pie in the sky kind of thing, but now it's beginning to be much more of a real possibility. I want to look just quickly, show you this is the first time I've actually used this new interface, but this is a course that I taught last fall in this Make Together Creator course at Wake Forest. In spring, I did payments, also known as commercial paper for some of us, also known as bills and notes, if you go back far enough. Sales course. All of my courses that I teach are on TWEN, have been. If you look in the background, all the courses, I've got jillions of courses up here. I put all of my materials on TWEN. The only thing in hard copy for my students, as my colleague Marion knows, is I do comply with the first day assignments, put something on a note card, and what it says is to go to our course on TWEN. And that's it. I don't have any more hard copy for the rest of the semester. And everything is done through TWEN. And all of my materials, I have casebook and all the casebook books by West in all the areas I teach. I don't use them, but all the materials up on TWEN. It's newer, and I don't care how new the casebook is, it's still outdated. And so my students go to this site. They don't buy any books. They don't buy a casebook. They don't buy a statutory supplement. Nothing. It's all here. The syllabus is through the calendar, and it points the students. The calendar syllabus does for each day to various topics. That are really, these are just folders that kind of correlate with sections of a book. So instead of having a hard copy book, you're going to have a topic we're going to discuss, or the default rules, enforcement rules under Article 9, or how you. So you can imagine a chapter of a book dealing with UCC Article 9 and subsections of the book dealing with creating security interest, perfecting security interest. I simply put it up here online, and behind each of these folders are materials that I put up there that deal with that subject. So I use TWEN, as some of you do, for posting materials and such as that, and also with discussions with students. I use that quite frequently. What I want to talk about are a couple of what might be called advanced uses, at least for some of us, and one of which that I use. I put my glasses down. I do that a lot. I have 5,000 pairs of these things. They're spread all over the country. But a couple of features that I use that I don't think are as common as simply posting the materials and all that is I do very often have co-teachers. You can modify your course to add a co-teacher, and almost always have a judge or a colleague at another school who's actually co-teaching. And down here and you can see, again, on the left-hand side, all those folders I have, are topics, again, that correspond to sections that you would see in a typical casebook. And within those folders are narrative materials, statutes, all kinds of things for the students. But down at the bottom where you can actually modify the course, it's very, very easy. Here's the course information. It's very, very easy if you want to add a co-teacher to the course. And I've written a number of books with a close friend of mine, David Epstein, who right now is at SMU. And David and I are almost always involved in co-teaching each other's courses. And you create a co-teacher with your site by simply, going to the modified course and putting in the numeric portion of their Westlaw password. And, of course, that's the most difficult part about adding a co-teacher to a course is getting them to find out what their Westlaw password is. And they'll go to the librarian who'll tell them what the password is, and they'll lose it on the way back to their office, and they'll get it again, and then finally write it on the monitor. So they've got their very secure. But get that, and you put in the numeric portion and then submit the thing, and then you end up with a co-teacher who is listed on the front of the course as a co-teacher, has all the access to this site that I do, can add material, can get involved in the discussions. You can take this another step and actually share the course. I mean, here what I've done is simply to make David a co-teacher of the course, has access. He talks with the students. He puts materials up there and all that. But also, we share courses, and I've done this with a number of faculty members. What we anticipate, what we're already beginning to see in the future, and Eric and I want to talk about what we think is possible in the future, is that folks will create courses with all this content in it. And somebody at another school will say, hey, I like how you've organized this course online. I don't want to go out and adopt your book or this book or that. What I want is I want a copy of your course, of your TWEN course. And you can actually share the course. In effect, give a professor at another school access, and that teacher and his or her students will have all those materials available to her. And it's a segregated unit. Essentially, what it is a copy of the course that's made available to them as if it is their own course. You can take it another step, and you can have classes at 2 separate schools or more schools actually combined, and not only using the materials, but actually involved in all the discussions together. And all that's easy in the background with a few little clicks. And I have done that with a number of teachers through the years, and it is fun to be teaching debtor-creditor at my school and have a course at the University of Texas or, a course at Bolt or somewhere where the students are actually all together virtually online, using the same materials, having discussions with each other, having competitions. In one case, in one course, what we did was very often to have one class represent the creditor and one class represent the debtor. We had to change that because debtors always lose, fundamentally. So it was always kind of weighted in favor of. But they would do briefs. They would do all kinds of things in competition. So the sharing of this information, and really, I anticipate, within a few years, with all this material up online, that this is going to be much more common. It presents a problem for West, but of course, because you're jumping their casebooks, they're selected commercial statutes, so they're not getting any of the revenue out of that. But that's not my problem, fundamentally. And don't tell them I said that. But when a student comes, if you take a debtor-creditor course, I mean, the Epstein-Nickles book, new Article 9 book, cost almost $100 or something such as that. Of course, the authors only get 2 cents a copy when it's sold. So there's not a lot there. And then you take the selected commercial statutes, which started out this thick, and now it's this thick, and that thing's like what is it, Marion? $75 or something like that. They're high. So a student taking that one course can expect to spend anywhere from $150 to $200. You take Nickles' course, you don't spend any money on books at all. I mean, you walk into the class and all the material is up there, and it is more current than what's in the casebook itself. And these courses are developed by folks who have some expertise. You can adopt a course for the same reasons you adopt somebody's casebook. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. And that's presented a real problem. In my case, I do presentations, and I'm around, and people see this kind of stuff, and they know that I'm doing it. Because of security, you can't simply go and look in unless I let you. I mean, the security on this is controlled by the teacher. You can open it up, but you really kind of have to. What I'm urging West to do is to publish kind of a directory. So you can see under debtor-creditor or under con law, who's got a TWEN site. And then you can email that person and say, I would like to look at your site. And then all you have to do is to go into the background, the modify course, and list them as an observer, and then they have access to your course. Not as a co-teacher, but an observer, they can look and see. And then they do some magic in the background if they want to adopt the course and use it that way. And then it's their own course. They're using your content. And it's begun to add more functionalities, including video conferencing through TWEN. I mean, the kind of combinatorics of what you can do with this are incredible, particularly based upon the new architecture that they've got behind it. It makes it enormously pliable. But if you know somebody that is got a TWEN course, you'd like to see it, what you've got to do now is simply to write them and say, would you include your Westlaw password, and they can give you observer status. And sometimes I get notices through this system itself that somebody wants to share my course, and I'm perfectly willing to do that. And what's interesting is this is really ahead of the business model because West, doesn't. How are they going to handle that? And what's going to happen when a law faculty member says, "Yeah, I'll let you use my course, but it's going to cost you $15 I don't think West is going to allow that because this remains free. Marion? Yes. Yeah, and the printing thing has always been a problem. What I'm seeing, at least in my classes, they're pretty self-selected, as Marion knows. Students who take my classes know everything's online. And what I'm seeing compared to 4 or 5 years ago is the students are printing less. They're beginning to cut and paste. And what I do in a lot of these folders or these topics is I actually prepare an outline for the students of each subject areas. So they've got an outline. They can simply download it. It's in WordPerfect form. Or Word form, they can simply download it, and they cut and paste and actually begin. So I'm seeing, at least in my students, more use of the digital forms and less of the printing out, which is, I think, that is enhanced when you've got all the materials online for the students and you've done some editing for them, rather than having an isolated case or something that goes along with a hard copy book. But we still got a bridge phase to go through, because you still got the students that are printing. But you see how easy it is. Literally everything is up online, all the materials. And because it's in this form, as I know problems that the students are having with particular issues, I can come in very, very easily and add materials to cover subjects in more depth that I want to get into that the students find interesting. And one of the ways that I find what students need is by using the quizzing function. And if any of you here use the quizzing function very much at all? Oh, it's so, listen, and I said yesterday to the group, most of all these features, they asked me to look at. And years ago when they suggested quizzing, I said, forget it, law faculty never use it. And it turns out that now that I'm the #1 user in the country of this feature. They didn't listen to me, which is typically true, but I use it all the time, and I use it as a diagnostic tool, much more so than just for evaluation. And let me just show you how this. Sure. And what I want to do is make the progression, because what I'm going to show you very quickly is how I use kind of quizzes generally. There's also a feature in here known as document quizzes. You have a case, let's say, Smith v. Jones, and you can embed questions in the case itself. So as they read through the case or read through the statute, you can have a question there that the students have to answer. The most sophisticated use of document quizzing, as it's called, you go from quizzes to document quizzes, is now Cite Station, which Erik is going to show you, which legal writing folks use, and it is a very, very sophisticated diagnostic and educational evaluation purposes at all. So we want to, this is an advanced feature. A lot of people don't even know about Cite Station. We want to walk you through. What I do with my students, I did in this course and all my courses, is they get online, they go to the calendar tells them what the assignment is. It points them to materials that are online. They get to those materials, there are cases, there are statutes, there are all kinds of things, as you would see in a casebook, but also things that you're not going to put in a casebook. Link to actual court files, things that you simply cannot have in the typical casebook. They read that material, and then always there's going to be a quiz associated with the assignment that's coming up for next Wednesday or next Thursday. And I create a little quiz with respect to that assignment that the students have to answer by a date certain, which is usually midnight before the day of the class. And it consists of just a very few questions, anywhere from 6 to 12 questions, which takes me no time to create. They have to answer it by midnight. When midnight comes, the exam goes away. I get a report of everybody who took the exam, what their scores were, and I get a class composite. So I can tell, based upon those questions, which questions they had difficulty with, which issue areas were hard for them, and then I focus the class on those questions. And let me show you, if you haven't used this, how you on the left-hand side, you have a little button that says quizzes. You create that. These are the quizzes that were hanging over at the end of that semester. If I want to manage those quizzes, I select one of them. But if I want to create a quiz, you simply do that. You give it a name, and I usually give it a name that's associated with the topic, the subject that we're talking about. You can put instructions on here. I don't do that. I don't use a lot of these features, but you can put instructions on there for the beginning and a message for the end. And sure. Yeah, this system, what it does, and I'll show you this. You can fine tune it. We'll set an opening date and a closing date. So they get that. Yeah, they get that information, and so I can do all of these, weeks in advance, if I stayed on schedule on the syllabus, and it won't appear to the students until the time I've set. And I'll show you the background of this, and then it goes away at the time that I've set. But to create a question, you just give it a quiz name. Create a question, and you can do multiple choice, multiple select, true, false, or fill in the blank, or short essay. And it took me years to learn the difference between a multiple choice and a multiple select. Do you know the difference between those two?
One's one right.
Yeah, the multiple select, you can have a couple of right answers. The students hate that, basically. They really hate that. And it's very confusing for me. So I usually use true, false, or multiple choice, sometimes fill in. But typically it's going to be a multiple choice or true, false, or something, because this system, if you want to use it for evaluation purposes, will grade these things and then dump it into a grade book that's online. It's got all your student names, and it automatically dumps their score. So it will grade the multiple choice and the true, false. It won't grade the fill in the blank or the short essay that you have, but the multiple choice will automatically grade those things, dump them into your grade book, and keep a running score all throughout the semester. You can weight them differently. So here you just, you would select multiple choice, and then the text, I don't type very well. The sky is what color? And maybe put a question mark there. You can attach graphics to the question. So when the students see the question to be a graphic, you think, why in the hell would you put a graphic? But turns out I use that occasionally. I had back in the last fall in doing their accreditor, for some reason we got into creating consensual liens on boats. And what a boat is, y'all know, the people in Seattle know that. In North Carolina, you got a boat to boat, basically. But if you get out of North Carolina, there are sophisticated differences in boats, and it depends upon the size and look and all. So I would actually attach graphics to this thing for exam questions. Typically, I don't do that. Then you've got, if you're choosing a multiple choice, you type in the possible answers that are there. So, whatever it is, and you just go down, you know how that works. And then you select which answer from the teacher. You select which answer is correct. If you want to, you can set this system so that once a student answers it, if it's wrong, you can have an explanation, of the answers. You can use it that way. I typically don't, but so you can. You can set it all kinds of ways. So you save it, save the question, and create another question. You get the very same screen until you're through with the questions. And I usually, for my purposes, diagnostic, almost never more than 12 questions. And if you put the materials together, and you're the teacher, it takes no time to do 10 of these questions. Just a really few minutes to create them. To really focus in on what the issues are and what the students, you want to get some idea of what they're. So here if that's all we're going to do, we save and return to step 2. That's done. Yeah, sure. And that's what I've got. And then you can share those question banks with colleagues around. And those things are developing. And you've got a bank there, so they build and they're cumulative. You continue to step 3. And then here's where you can allow anonymous quizzing so that the students' names want to be associated with it. If you're doing it for diagnostic purposes, maybe you don't. I don't use anonymous quizzing. Some people do. I mean, I always associate names with the results. And you've got all these possibilities, but here is this wonderful feature where you can set it when you want it to be available to the students and when you want it to disappear. And you can set it so it's available immediately and all semester long. Or in my case, I open it up about 6 o'clock on the day before the class when we're going to go over this, and then shut it off about midnight. The students take this thing, and I get a report again that shows each student's answer and get a class composite for the thing. You can randomize the question. There are all kinds of possibilities that are here, but finish it, and then it's going to be added to my bank up here. The questions, I can go through and add questions to that, whatever. Eric? And what Eric's going to do now is to show you a little bit about document quizzing and show you the cite station, which is a very, very sophisticated use of. That's all you do to create these quizzes. You'll use them for evaluation purposes. Throughout the semester, some people are even using them for final exams. If you get multiple choice final exam, yes, ma'am. Sure.
Oh, you got to put in your own password. Can you type in your? I just logged in.
Oh, yeah. Practice. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can modify the course homepage. And again, I don't do fancy stuff, mainly, but if it wasn't for credit cards, we wouldn't have better credit courses, basically. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, it's the credit card industry that creates bankruptcy, which gives me, consumer bankruptcy, which gives me a reason to. And if you look at the, and it's easy to do those. Here, this is a good one too. I like this one. This payments law with the dollar bill. Another way you do that to modify the course homepage, they've got a place right down here where you can add a graphic. So I just go off online, find the graphic I want, steal it, save it to my desktop, and then just attach it. And it shows up on your homepage. You can put sound on there if you want, but that's about as fancy as I get with that sort of thing. Although I did use graphics with some of the questions because it sounds, you think, what would you do that? But in some judgment. So I do for that. But credit cards have a special place to me because they really do are responsible for a lot of the stuff that I teach. Payments, debtor, creditor, bankruptcy, and all that. And the document quizzing, which is a newer feature, is where you can actually, take some content and embed questions in there. So particularly for first-year courses, for analysis and methodology, as you go through there, students read part of the case, and then they've got a question they've got to answer, and then they go on in front of the guest.
Always somewhere on the spectrum, it seems, as soon as we use it. More than a textbook. I haven't used TWEN.
And that's a great insight, and that's where I think this is going. When I teach bankruptcy, I actually teach out of actual case files. I get through or pull up whole case files then teach out of those. You can't do that with functionalities are going beyond, and that's an enormously important point. That West, for a long time, we've been talking about putting casebooks in form, and we've been doing this for CALI was in its early years. So, first on 5 1/4 disc and all that, and I just saw a presentation here of another kind of off-reader sort of thing. And I frankly don't see a whole lot of advantage, unless the cost is a whole lot cheaper. But when you go beyond, you begin to add functionality, diagnostic tools for students, conceptual mapping with respect to learning objects. And that's where TWEN is headed long term. I mean, this is really going to be a tool that does change how it is that we have the 4 walls and the chalkboard. And certainly with respect to distance, I'm teaching through TWEN. TWEN at the University of Seattle Law School are sponsoring in the fall distance course. I'll be teaching bankruptcy, sitting in my church in Winston-Salem, teaching that uses all of those plus other functionalities that aren't generally available now, including video that's built in, that is available to everybody. But if you think of the kind of functionalities that really do go beyond just the text, and not replacing the teacher. No. No, and I want, and work, no way in hell am I going to say I need less time. Give it to the con law teacher if I did that, right?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you why I got interested in this, and TWEN really was my idea. It was like years ago. This is before the web, and the reason I did it is because when I first started teaching UCC, many years ago, it was a very, very narrow subject, and some of y'all remember that. I mean, it was a very, very narrow subject and focus. And this was before 78, and what I still call the new bankruptcy code. Bankruptcy wasn't important. It didn't happen very much at all. But, the world changed. And we still have, in most law schools, the same number of credit hours for a UCC course. Look at the curriculum. There are 82 credit hours for con law stuff, and an hour and a half for UCC stuff. Yet the world now is, it just imploded. There's so much in this subject. But what I found out is, and I knew I wasn't going to get any hours out of the con law teachers. No chance. So I had to find some way, really to be more efficient. And the reason that TWEN started, honest to gosh, was for that problem. Very insightful for that. Because I had to find some way that I could identify, offload to the students as much as I could, find out what they were having most problems with, and then use that 50-minute precious class time to focus on those. That was really what was beneath TWEN in the beginning. So in my course here, and I'm still being praised, I find that, but there may be some subjects, and I could go through and pick out subjects I think deserve less time. I wouldn't say publicly what they are. I do think what's going to happen is with technology, is that kind of how we teach and where we teach going to change. Times 24/7, and some of the things that Erik was going to be light of what, but it's going to be driven by legal education as far as TWEN's concerned. West has no ambition to be a law school or to do any of that. And it's simply there's a tool for law faculty. And it's going to be law faculty driven. Certainly it's affected the way I teach. Frankly, it's made me a lot better teacher. I can now essentially custom make the course for my students. I can get them in every semester, and you're covering the basic subjects, but now you've got the return from the students. You can do the diagnostic, you can do the discussions with them. You can find out what that particular class is having trouble with. And one semester teaching commercial papers, one class might have trouble with holder and due course. You know, the next semester, hey, that's no problem. But they've got, some difficulty with something else. And so I think it makes education much better in, go forward to the kind of functionalities. I think one of the things that I hope to see are diagnostic tools. You've got all these learning objects there on their own. Some diagnostic tools where the students can find out where they are with respect to a particular subject matter. Put them into the materials at the appropriate level for their understanding of what their needs are, or customization for the student.
All right. This is if you didn't see it before, it's just down on the left-hand side. Document quizzes it's the default when you create a course. It's by default added. So if you just click finish, and it's on the bottom here. It's a pretty simple process. Essentially, it's identical to creating a quiz, except that you add a document that is your content that you want to embed questions into. So you just create an item. I'll just go through this quickly. I want to actually create this one. And here's where you attach the document. After this step, it's identical to creating a quiz. You can add questions and all of that, and then set the settings.
Could be a larger article,
sure.
Could be a pleading, could be a,
Yep.
some kind of legal memo, whatever.
Yep, I'll show you that in a second. So now when a student comes into this, they see everything on the left. They don't see this. This is because I have administrator rights to the course. And so they'll see this. They'll click on it. It says start the quiz, and it takes them to a document. This is a sample that I had created. I just pulled the document off Westlaw.
Happens to be a Westlaw document. Surprise.
And you can see there in about the middle of the page the little question mark icon. When a student comes through this document as they're reading, they see this, they click on it, it pops up a window. These are 2 questions that I created for this document quiz. This first one is just fill in the blank, so I just put whatever. Click next. Here's a multiple choice question. Do that, and then once I click this, close the question link, the results are saved. And then they'll be tallied at the end once you get all the way through the document. So you can go down, you see another one. One interesting thing to note is, although I have, on both of my examples, I have 2 questions, you can add, for each question mark in your document, you can have as many or as few questions as you want, and they can be any type. Behind the scenes, they're all part of the same quiz, so when you see the results, it will just take all of those questions and have them listed out for you. Oops, I missed one. And you can answer them in any order. There's no reason you have to go through the document as it scrolls down. But I'll skip the last one. And so once you hit the bottom, you can say View Results. Since I didn't answer the last questions, it tells me you didn't answer one. Are you sure you want to submit the quiz? I'm going to say yes because that's fine. It gives them an instant return on the number of questions they had, how many they got right. And also, because there was a fill-in-the-blank question, it requires manual grading on the part of the professor. So we can't tally that score. We just set it off to the side. And then as a professor, I come over here and I click on the results. And this will be a running list of all the students that have completed the document quiz. Again, the password field is there because I'm an administrator. That wouldn't normally be there. But you can see number of questions, number of correct responses, the results that require manual grading. And now this part of the process is exactly the same quiz results as you have with a regular quiz. So if you're familiar with quizzes, you can just jump right into this, and there's no new learning curve. But just to show you.
This and on quizzes generally, what the system will give you an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh.
In a regular quiz feature,
Uh-huh.
you have the option of giving
Yes.
Is that possible in this?
Yes, I didn't show it. I didn't have a document to upload, but once you upload your document that you're going to embed questions into, which I'll show you in a second, the last step is the properties of the quiz, where you can say I want it to be anonymous, and they're identical to a regular quiz.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant when I can let them get an immediate result.
Yes.
You answered the question, there was no result that popped up, so you didn't know whether you, the student, got it right.
Yes. No, that would be the case. My example didn't have the you're talking about the explanation, right?
The same.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. My example didn't show that part, but yes, as far as taking a quiz, there's functionally no difference. It's the same code behind the scenes. We just put it inside of a document, basically. So you can reset the results here if you want. I'm just gonna say I'm done.
Does that mean that they're moved to the new scores?
No,
Same quiz or a different quiz?
Right. In this case, they would be deleted. That particular set for that particular student would be deleted. Again, that's one of the properties, I believe, on the quiz, where you can say I want to let them retake it or not. That's only there for
One of the quiz
convenience, really.
options is you can set it in, the students themselves have the choice of retaking the quiz. Have that, students just go through, take it, they will have
Yep.
the option, but they call you and tell you that driving down the street, an ice cream truck fell on them. They had a nervous breakdown. They want a chance to take the quiz again, back in, and wipes out their initial result, and they can do it. That's
Right. And I just, if you saw, I clicked on, from the document page, clicked on Edit an Item. That was the one I was just showing you. This is where you can change the name, you can change the document even if you want, and you can edit the questions, which is what I'll show you here. This is kind of a fun little feature.
And Eric's point about these are around the country growing pools of these. Bridge, and in terms of my courses, I do have sets of questions for each for them.
And those question banks are shareable, I believe, between courses. So if you know a professor that has some questions you want to have, they can just send them to you, basically.
Another reason we need a director.
Mm-hmm.
No one is ever going to be able to get in your course ever without
Really?
Right.
I know that. Originally.
Sort of an approval process.
One of the reasons West has lived to have this is that some, and they're so concerned about privacy, and rightly so, is that some faculty members, for I guess, principal reasons, don't publicly know that they even got a course. And so what it requires is you have to go and ask every individual, and right now there are thousands and
Thousands,
thousands and
right.
thousands of twins. Bars and retail.
Right.
On the index.
Right.
I'm willing to be included in the index, and not only put it in the index, but it.
Right.
And
I mean,
that'd be a nice feature to have, because and obviously the system recognizes your ideas. You're a faculty, you're a faculty member, and you
Right.
have kind of automatic entry if the author of the course is agreed with it.
Completely the.
Right. It has to be
And so
voluntary.
somebody wanted not. I
Right.
think you're just saying that's not fair.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile.
I deal with this a lot. People want to know, well, what are they doing at your other schools? I want to see one of their courses. When you set up a TWEN course, you do have the option to let other faculty view it. Option for faculty to participate or not view at all. So you actually grant permission. Back that as an account manager, we are able to see all our schools. And if I have a professor that wants to see another school, I will go ask that faculty member or just shoot them an email. Work with your account managers.
Mm-hmm.
We're willing to work with you.
I know we're almost out of time. I'll just show you this quickly. This is a previously created document quiz. So I'll show you how you first, if you want to edit, you simply choose the question link that you want to edit, and you highlight it like that. And this new window pops up, and it knows what questions were behind that question mark. If you want to view them to make sure you know what's there, it just lists them out for you, and it shows you the correct answer if one is available. And then right here you can say add another question, edit an existing question, delete a question from this link in the document, or you can delete the whole link itself. And it will actually delete the questions. So one thing to be careful of is if you have this out there and half the students take it and then you add a question, those students that already took it won't have answered it. Or if you remove one later on.
Ways that I've used the document quiz is not effective. The courses I teach, you know,
Sure.
Because what you're doing is you're modifying a question that you've already done.
Right.
Or adding a new question at that same link.
Right.
So I've got that in.
Okay.
Now, I want to do is, if I'm starting cold,
Sure.
the document that I just loaded,
Okay.
how do I create it?
I
How do I?
when you have a new one, you'll get to this exact point.
Okay.
And you just scroll in the document wherever you want to put the question, and you just click. And then it says,
Got it.
is this what you really want to do? And then you say, okay. And it pops up a new window, and it says, here's where you add your questions. There's a couple options here. You can create a new question from scratch. You can choose one of your existing quizzes, a question from one of your existing quizzes. Or you can choose from your question bank. I don't have any question banks on my password, so.
I got it.
Okay.
but also remember, you want to give the kids an explanation, if they get something wrong. Like, for the case. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
But
sure, we
we'll
can-
hang around.
Yeah.
And talk to you about your ideas. Obviously, it's very rich, it's very pliable, where it's going to go in the future. Depends on what y'all want. Thank you very much for coming.